So, welcome back to the final part of our forum this evening. And as I mentioned before, we are going to now talk with our experts here we have on our panel discussion in regards to the impact and consequences of current megatrends on the global economy. As you've heard in the last couple hours, it's been discussed quite often with some very interesting questions that we never even got to finish as we were in the middle of our presentations. I would like to first begin in introducing who is on our panel, and then we're going to start right into the questions. Please remember that if you have questions, write them into the chat, or we'll be coming around in a few minutes with a microphone that you may be able to ask when we open it to the public. So first of all, again, welcome our expert panel. And I'm going to begin with introducing, to my far left is Anja Hermenau, and she is the representative of the Saxony State Economic Senate. Next to her, we've heard previously, was the Dr. Samuel Greene, and he is a professor in the Department of Political Science, Global Studies, and Geography at Shepherd University in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. Also to my left is Dr. Pradeep Kumar. He is the president of the Indo-European Education Foundation, as well as he's on the Faculty of Modern Languages at the University of Applied Sciences in Nysa, Poland. To my right is our very own Professor Dr. Serge Velesco, and he is the Dean of our International Management here at our university. And to my right is Mr. Max Jankowsky, and he is the Managing Director of the GieBerei in LoBnitz Gmbh Company Corporation here in Germany. So again, I would like to thank you, and I think that just to save time, because I think we've got lots of questions, I am going to open it up. And Ms. Hermenau, I'm going to begin with you with a question that we have. And the question is, climate change, demography, urbanization, economic growth, energy consumption, connectivity, and geopolitics are among the most prevailing megatrends that are explored. Which megatrends do you see affecting the small and medium-sized businesses, specifically for Germany, and why is that?
Well, the energy question and skilled worker labor force will be the most important ones, to my point of view. The demography is going ahead. Everybody knows, or has been known for the last 10 or 15 years, if you wanted to know, that the number of young people is shrinking. And so we have to educate everybody as good as we can, so to make him a skilled worker, which is only one part of the answer. And the other are invite skilled workforce from all over the world. Point is, since the country is deteriorating a bit, overdoing in the debt, national debt, and an unstable common currency in other European countries, probably, maybe, you don't know yet. And then we do have a real acute energy problem at the moment and for the next couple of years, and that is really bringing our competitiveness down. So this is actually no country you want to go into if you are a skilled worker and you are able to calculate, because you can calculate that your pension you are paying in the system will not come out again. So to my point of view, we are not attractive to skilled workers from all over the world. Other countries are more attractive. Our social welfare system is overloaded. Our state's debt is too high, to my point of view. And we do have the acute problem with the energy prices taking us from the market immediately. A lot of firms are closing, and this is second-class burial, because they close first and then they go away to other countries where the energy supply is safe, stable, and you can afford it.
Okay. Dr. Kumar, I see you shaking your head. Would you like to add, or?
Yeah, just a little bit. It was very interesting to know your opinion, because India is one of the country now that we know that is the fastest growing economy in the world, and just contradictory to the statement what just we have heard from the first panel. India has the highest, youngest population in the world.
That's it.
So, highest, youngest population in the world. What it means, we have heard in previous some presentations as well. The productivity means globalization. Productivity means youth. Productivity means services. Productivity means young youth who can contribute for the generation of productivity for the country. So what we are watching in the country, the growth rate is going very fast, and we become as fastest growing economy. And not only during the pandemic time, when world economy were in the crisis and foreign capital, especially when we heard even the second speaker today from the beginning, foreign capital, which is also quite important for a nation when it is contributing for the development of the country. Imagine tackling your question even before about Elon Musk investment. And that question was quite important for me to understand. I wanted to answer you here in the similar session. A region where young people migrating, and you mentioned that the region is not attracting in the eyes of the foreign investors because you don't have productivity of the youth who can contribute more. Contradiction to that, watch out, just top 5 world economy. Just top 5 world economy. US, 27 trillion economy. Down to that, if you go, China, around 17 trillion. Third number, Japan, around 5.5 trillion. Go to Germany, fourth number, around 4.75 trillion. India, 3.51 trillion. Just this year, crossed UK. And the France is the 7th one now.
Right.
Yeah. Now, the question is, if the regionalism is affecting the globalization through the young population or the demography impact is playing a role. Because these are the factors what we have heard about globalization. So many problems we have now. Climate changes, labor markets and all. Imagine that these 5 countries, top 5, fifth one is 3.51 trillion. And compare with one company named Apple. 2.2 trillion economy. The entire worth of one company is 2.2 trillion. How many countries from the European Union, they come under that capital? Entire economy of Poland, from where I'm coming now, is around 700 billion. So the influence of a corporate on the globalization world is huge, which help you to increase the regionalism value for the global platform. And that was the part I wanted to contribute from your section here. And missing point is the young youth who can contribute and generate the productivity in the region, especially in the section here. And in Germany, that is the point what is to be considered. And India is one of the factors you can see as a country. We have heard about many presentations, either this side or that side or nowhere. Either you are with us or you are against us. There are so many questions we can come forward, and I will just commenting you on that, right? So my point of view is that demography is one of the factors today which is leading the world, because if a country like India, where you have the largest English speakers in the world after US, so you are able to communicate with the people, though even I'm Indian, and I want to communicate from North to South Indian people. I'm just like you. I'm just like you as a foreigner. So I have to use English as a link language, and that's make world community to come and invest in the country. We have also a very unique project, what we call it, Make in India. So our government has launched a project that we don't want to buy ready-made product from you. You have huge technology. So come to our country, invest here, and then produce your product. Make in India. Not made in India, make in India. And that's helped the regionalism to grow and level up to the globalized world. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Thank you. I'm going to now take this question over to you, Mr. Jankowsky, because with your company, where do you feel the megatrends are, and what are some of the challenges that you are facing today and in this world of globalization?
Yeah. a foundry is probably the best company you can have now in these days. Yeah, it needs lots of energy, and that's the mega trend now. Before the war, it was like digitalization, something new types of furnaces. So I still use coal. Yeah, before the war, I was like the bad man. Yeah. Oh, you're using still coal. Yeah, you need to have like electricity or gas oven or something. But now I'm very happy with coal because the price of coal is just double high as before and not 10 times high as before. Yeah, it's a good way. That's now the mega trends. Yeah, before it was like the topic about climate change. Yeah, we want to save the climate, we want to save the environment. We have to think about processes, technical processes, and to save energy and save coal and save CO2. Yeah. Now it's not a point. It was a good point from you. Yeah. It's like the mega trend, like the caveman, from the cavemans, yeah? We need energy, yeah? We need a lot of energy and affordable energy, yeah? And also with the 200 billions, yeah, from our chancellor, yeah? It won't solve any problem with that, yeah? Yeah, it's senseless. Sounds difficult or sounds crazy that I'm saying this, that the 200 billions are senseless, but they are, because after the 200 billions, there's nothing. Yeah, there's still no energy here. There's still no affordable energy, and there's still an industry who needs lots of energy. And it doesn't matter nowadays for the industry if the energy is green, pink, blue, or whatever. Yeah,
You need energy.
yeah, we need energy, and we don't see a concept yet in this country. And that's the point with India. I think that's a German thing. That's still a German thing. We're standing here now in the year 2022 and speak about network stability, yeah, about the winter, about heating rooms for
Collecting wood.
collecting wood and something, yeah. It's crazy, yeah, and that's the time. And the bad thing on this is that the other mega trends like digitalization and demography, they're standing still. There's no digitalization the last 2 years here. Was a little bit with COVID, a little bit, yeah, with MySpace, with MS Teams and something, yeah. But in the industry now, they don't have any time and capacity for these topics.
That's right.
They just hang on the phone and say, oh, where I can get some gas? Do you have some gas? No. That was the course I've made in this summer, yeah. I was calling with the gas supplier, yeah, where are my gas? Oh, we have no gas for you. Okay, and now? We don't know. Yeah, that's the topic now. That's the mega trend, and that's a very, very simply mega trend. But it is the mega trend in Germany now, and that's not correct. And we have to solve this problem, not with 200 billion. We have to solve this problem with an industrial strategy. Yeah, from our Green Party. Yeah, from the Ministry of Economy. Yeah, from Mr.
They
Habeck.
don't have a plan.
Yeah, we don't have a plan.
No.
That's the point, and I'm a little bit afraid about the future from medium-sized companies with high energy use. Yeah.
Because this seems to be such a really good topic, I don't want to really drop this question, but I want to get our last two panel input, and Professor Velesco, I will add your. What are your thoughts to what we have discussed so far, or what you consider the mega trend?
Indefinitely. The question about the energy, basically, it's the question about the global supply, because, you know, if all in all, we still somewhere we still have the gas, maybe we are not investing enough globally in this sector. We still have the coal, maybe the same problem, but we are over-investing in green energy. But the question is about the distribution and about the supply chain. And if you, from one day to another, just cuts the supply and say, hey, today we are, it's, you know, it's, and this is about the strategy, you know, to have the strategy is the same if we would say, okay, today I'm living in this house, and right now in summer I'm moving to the somewhere on the sea, in the winter I'm moving somewhere else, and I don't take care, and I can just rent here and there. It's not going the same story. If you are going to build up the house, you're supposed to live 10 years. The same with the energy. You cannot just switch because you don't like somebody from A to B. It will be the same with India and so on. Whether it's really global trend, I don't know. because I doubt that it's global trend right now, especially. So a global trend is more about the supply chain, and of course within supply chain, global supply chain, geopolitics, where we are going, how the energy going to be distributed, what is the strategy of the distribution. The other one about the attractivity of Germany, it's not just about the money, but the question is where the people, would like to live. And right now, especially, you can see it very, very interesting right now, especially with, because unfortunately, and this is basically awful, because of war, we have the also middle-class people from Ukraine and from Russia, which are going globally. And the funny point about it, they don't stay in the one country, they move from one country to another to find the best place to live. And it's not just where they have the best condition from money-wise, it's the best condition where they're supposed to live. It means, what about the health? It's very, very much about whether you are young and 20s and where you're looking for somewhere where you get, on the one side, good education, but the other side, where you have really a lot of fun, or if you are around about 30 and you have the children, then it's about the education of the children, where the better education system and secure. And if you are 50 plus, it's again, it's about the health, it's about the safety, it's different approaches. And for this, back to you, again, we need a strategy in Germany. If you would like to track, the question is who's supposed to be attracted, and it's not just about, it's less about money, it's about the marketing perspective. Marketing is about the idea, what kind of people, what they are looking for, and then to make the condition and speak about it. And if I'm looking, if I take Mittweida, funny, a lot of people from around the globe, so we are right now with our double degree program studies. We attract the people from all over the globe, some from India, Pakistan, we have from a couple of people from Africa, from the East Europe, Middle East, and you can see that a lot of people consider to stay not just in Germany, even in Mittweida. And then it's come again, you need the companies, and the companies need an energy that they made to stay here. So the attractivity of this Saxony place, and even a small city like Mittweida, is enormous, and the conditions, I think it's possible to make it. But you have to have the strategy, and the strategy is something which you are not going to make just without on the paper, first of all, but you have to have it on the paper, and then you have to basically to implement it. And to implement such kind of strategy, the same with energy, you should not change from 1 year to another, but you have it on the long term, so it's something like 5, 10, 15 years. And then you need continuously some kind of environment where, regardless who is going to be right now in the politics or government, it should be some continuously process without changing from back and forwards. But because this is for strategy, regardless whether we are speaking about the energy, whether we are speaking about the attractiveness of the country, whatever, basically it's absolutely awful, and it's going to nowhere.
And where do you see it going, Dr. Greene?
I guess first I will make a comment on energy. And now I'm going to sound like an American and a security studies professor. But I think we first have to realize to some extent that the energy challenges that a lot of Europe, but particularly Germany, is facing now are as a result of earlier policy decisions, right? So Germany made a decision about nuclear power versus other power sources, which is now shaping the energy environment. And that brings me to my broader point about megatrends. The thing I think I'm most interested in is how choices made now dealing with megatrends will constrain future possibilities. So we can see that, for example, in trade-offs. And I'll talk about the climate, energy, security nexus, right? What choices are being made now about energy that will affect what will be possible for climate later? Because you can imagine a strategy now taken for short-term concerns that will very much constrain what energy choices can be made later, that will make it further difficult to meet climate goals and commitments. In the same way, it was, as someone who's watched European defense spending, it was very jarring from an American for the Green Party to lead part of the discussion about 2% of GDP defense spending in Germany. But this is, of course, a trade-off. To what extent will increased spending on defense, which I don't think is just a German thing, but I think is something that we'll see across Europe, what trade-offs will be made to allow for increased spending on defense, and how will that constrain future choices? And then on climate, I think I want to make a point about whether climate will be seen as solutions that come from, I guess we can say it, investment in technical solutions, or if climate change will also require decisions about reducing consumption, because that will sort of further make the world more zero-sum. So I guess I see these three trends, energy, climate, and security, shaping the long-term environment depending on the choices being made now.
I'd like to pick up the energy question and the climate question. If you really want to have success within the reduction of CO2, I take it that way, and that's the most outspoken way, then actually it would be much more sense, it would make much more sense if, for instance, Germany, but all the other industrial countries as well, would take half of the money they are planning to invest in their own countries for the reduction of CO2 and invest it in other countries who struggle with really old factories, old plants, and things like that. I mean, I had been visiting China, I'd been visiting India. I know what it smells like if you're in some areas, and I remember that from GDR times here in our region. And my point is, if you have to bring down CO2 without any borders, and as soon as possible, do not invest the money in the industrial countries. I mean, the bit we can save anymore is not worth all that money that is spent on it. This is really economic nonsense. And to my point of view, it would be a great help if you agree upon that, for instance, in the first place. And the second place, to my point of view, we do have a very special thing in Germany, and it's Mittelstand. And the point is, the technological precision, the technological depth of the machinery and everything else is well liked all over the world. And since the Germans are always offering service and spare parts if something is broken, things like that, they are bought a lot, those machines. And now the point is, if the German government is not able to provide energy to make them going on, and their goods and their products are spread all over the world, they will just leave Germany and go on, and all the world will yell at Germany because they didn't keep them up. And to my point of view, the nuclear question is one. You have a point, to my point of view. And I remember the discussions within the Greens. We shut off everything at the same time, which is nonsense as well. But where are the other parties? Not the Greens, the other parties, just following like little tiny, lemming, I don't know in English, so little tiny animals that walk one after the other and jump down into the ocean. Lemmings? Lemmings, okay, so close. And the point now is, maybe Europe will force the other European countries, because they are suffering from high energy prices as well, because of the German inner politics on that. Maybe Europe will force Germany into going back or getting back to nuclear which would be a partner of sun and wind if you take the German nuclear power plants, because they are able to go up and down with their capacity, which is a certain patent we are holding. And so they make them partners to the sun and the wind not being there all the time. So this could work if one puts some beef into it and some money. But we do have a government that is really ignorant of everything that's going on in the world, to my point of view, personally.
You want me to comment?
You had raised your hand.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, thank you. See, this is a very nice discussion what we heard from both the speakers and all over the panel. What is mega trend actually? I'm talking about the global trend, not about just in Germany. Mega trend, in my perception, being Indian living in Poland, watching European cooperation, mega trend is moving towards consumer market. So the consumer market, even you are increasing the force on the lawmakers, policy makers, it is consumer, which is letting them to think that now we have to find some solution, otherwise you'll be out of the office. Examples, you have Rishi Sunak in UK. Yeah. So best example you can see now in United Kingdom. So the countries in the global trend now is not so much important, but what is more important is individualism. What I believe, the point of globalization in 18th century, when we discuss about globalization, we supposed to understand globalization between the states. So a state-to-state cooperation called globalization. In 19th century, globalization turned on between corporates, companies. They host the sales and the cooperation between the companies, trading their goods, consumer market they're finding. Now in 21st century, I'm just getting out of this crisis which is faced to my neighbor country, but out of that, now we are living in the global world which is more connected with the individualistic approach. So individuals' interests are more. So world is going to be globalized with individual-centric world. Now, the gas issues and the energy issues which we are watching in the European Union, it is generated. This crisis has been generated. It has not been occurred from the nature. And we are utilizing it as a source of changing in the global layers. Layers, I call it, right? Now, in economic term, there is a very well understood a term, we call it, all of us, we are economists because we manage ourselves day by day, daily life. We have some income and we are expending it. So we call all of us economics as economists, but best economists or best citizens, best individuals in the global world is if you know how to fulfill your unlimited desires with limited resources. We all of us have unlimited desires. We want many things, but you cannot get it because you have limited resources. And that is the trend, mega trend, which is leading us to go for the re-globalization, what we call individualism basis. Now, beginning of the conflict with what we are facing in the neighbor countries in Europe, there was a question for India. Either you come to support us or you are against. As you are taking your individual interest in European Union as German interest, Polish interest, American interest, Indian government said we have our own interest. And our own interest, we are not supporting war. We are non-aligned government. We are non-aligned countries, even Second World War we were in, non-alignment. So we don't support war. And we want to stop this war as immediately if you can, because it is loss of us, it is individual approach again. And we are moving towards, it was our Prime Minister, Modi, in 1 month ago when it was there was some kind of, in Kazakhstan, some summit. Yeah, you might be knowing about that. It was Mr. Modi sitting next to Putin, and he's saying that, Mr. Putin, this is not the time for war. It was huge in the media. You should think to stop it, not to supplying your crime or some instruments which is leading the war again. So either individualism, we are watching the mega trend. You want to continue this conflict, which is creating many different segments we have seen, bipolar world, multipolar world, or regionalism conflict on many issues, or we are finding the solutions, are staying out of this recreation of conflict what we are watching. So our lawmakers, policymakers supposed to understand that individual approach. As another panelist mentioned, that either country from Ukraine or Russia, they are coming to the different part of European Union. They don't stay at one country. It was your statement. I'm just quoting that. Because there are individual interests. It is not the interest of a country that entire people from Ukraine or Russia go out. But people, they find their interest and they move on to each and every country by the age, by their race, and by their interest. So I think this is the mega trend. Beyond all these trends, putting down, and then we are moving further, which is supposed to be understood by the lawmakers and the policymakers. And I wanted to comment. Thank you.
I think this is a really good point. We've kind of stirred up a good conversation with a lot of different areas to discuss. And this is where I would like to open it up to our students in the room, to our academia in the room, to our guests in the room and online to please begin providing questions to our panel discussion. We have the opportunity now with our 5 experts to to pick their brains and to find out, to answer those questions that you may have. So I would like to open it up. If you have a question within here in Studio B, please raise your hand and we will give you the microphone. Oh my goodness, we've got hands going up. So if it's not a problem, I would like to start in the back with the students. I remember he had his hand up earlier.
Thank you very much. My question goes in the megatrend of gas, which we applied earlier. And for the role of Russia before the war, not only Germany was dependent on Russia's gas, also a lot of European and European states and European. And the thing is, a lot of people say after the war, whenever that may be, we don't want to use Russian gas anymore. We want, for example, gas from Canada, for example. And my question is, as well as for Germany in particular, but also for the European states, is this even possible from an economical point of view? Because we were so very dependent on Russian gas? Or is it just a question of moral not to buy gas from a war crime state?
Thank you.
Yeah, once the war is over, it's no country in the war anymore, so you should buy it again, to my point of view. I'm practical on that question. There is still a pipeline going through Ukraine and Poland, and actually there would be a chance to get Russian gas, which is important in the eastern part of Germany, because our machinery is calibrated to the specifica of the Russian gas. So Canadian or Angolian or Malaysian gas wouldn't do the job probably if you know what your machinery is like. So that means we are depending on a technological level on the specific criteria that the Russian gas is fulfilling. We are used to it, so to speak. Yeah? And to my point of view, there is no alternative in that, and it's via Hungary, probably the state enterprise of Hungary for energy is doing rather well. They have LNG terminals in Croatia, on Kirk, and other areas. So there will be import of Russian gas, I'm sure. And if the western part of Germany says we don't need it, it's fine with us, then they pay the five highest price for the LNG from the US, if they send it anyway. Qatar has explained well, maybe 2026, and then we have to invest, as the French do, for instance, because we have to invest in infrastructure and get prepared to have another huge customer. And this takes a couple of years and a lot of money. And Habeck says, oh, no, we will have biomethane things and like... I don't know whether he knows what dimensions we are speaking about. Sometimes it's like a little tiny pot with a flower in and a whole forest, and he mixes it up, same sites. Not at all.
Mr. Jankowsky, what is your opinion? And how would you like?
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I think in the future we need the gas from Russia. Actually, I'm sorry for America, but actually I see
They will need themselves.
I see no difference between gas from Russia and gas from the America, because the gas from Russia is much more climate friendlier, because it had not be on a ship and something like this. Sorry. And the thing is also with the infrastructure, with the LNG terminals. Try to build an LNG terminal in the next years. Yeah. Other question or other point, try to build a house nowadays. It's not possible in this time. So we need this gas actually from Russia. Yeah, that's my opinion. Yeah, sorry. But we will see how the war will end. Yeah, the war has to end. It's very important that it's still, then there's no more weapons from Germany and something else. I don't understand this. Yeah, I'm young. Yeah, 29, not that old. And that's the point. War is a new thing for me. Yeah, and it's very mind-blowing for me that some kilometers in this direction there's like a war going on. It's crazy with German weapons, with European weapons, with American weapons, with something else, with weapons. So people shot people there. It doesn't matter who people, but they shot against. Yeah, they kill each other. It's crazy. Yeah, but the point, there is the war and the gas. This is another thing. Yeah, and if the war is over, we have to think about to go back to the Russian gas, because it makes the other point makes no sense. With the industrial Germany, with our industrial nation, it makes no sense, actually. We need the gas also in the future. There is no enough sun, there is no enough wind, there is no enough hydrogen. We need this energy.
By the way, gas is used as well as a raw material, for instance, for AdBlue. So we do need, for climate reasons, AdBlue to add this to our fuels to make the emissions lower. And you need natural gas for that, because you get urea, Harnstoff, out of it, and you need that for AdBlue. So it has an impact if you don't have enough gas, not only in heating flats.
But there's a big difference between the Russian gas and what's going on now in Ukraine, you know?
Sure.
To think about infrastructure and to think about what's going on there, two different types. But in the future, if the war is over, we have to think about this again.
Okay.
I'll add sort of a couple of comments from a security studies perspective. So in general, a refusal to buy is only useful geopolitically in changing what a country does if you have most of the world in alignment. Right? If you have lots of countries who are not aligned with a boycott, it's not likely to be effective. And in some cases, even one or two important strategic partners of a country, say North Korea, can help it evade some of the consequences, not all. Yeah, so from a strategic perspective, if some European countries refuse to buy from Russia, it may be important for moral messaging, but it's very unlikely to be effective as a tool of economic statecraft. On the contrary, Russian refusal to sell gas will be in the short term much more effective because of the dependence of a lot of countries in Europe on it. And this comes to a question of fungibility. It's a fancy economic term for how easy it is to exchange one thing for another. And so, for example, if you like chicken and you go to the market and chicken is 50 euros instead of 5 euros, you might buy beef, and that's relatively fungible. But energy isn't nearly as fungible. Eventually, you can change your energy to whatever beef is. Well, beef is not ecologically friendly, so beef probably isn't solar power. But over time, you could be much less dependent on gas in general if you chose to make those decisions in the long term. But in the short term, Russian decisions will be more influential in Europe than the other way.
Okay, thank you. The next question, please.
Yeah, I have a question about the megatrends. One of the megatrends which is given by the German Zukunftsinstitute is the megatrend safety and security. And my question to the group here in front of us is, what do you think about the megatrend safety and security, especially if we think about critical infrastructure, especially in the manner, for instance, of pipelines and also internet connections, And what do you think about this? What should we do in order to protect our infrastructure?
Professor Velesco.
Really?
Yes, please.
I'm not really the expert about it, and of course my colleague knows my opinion. Nevertheless, the question is about what is the value of it. Basically, it's the same as military expenses. The question is how much is indefinitely on the one side. You have to protect it. On the other side, the question is what is the risk management behind it, and it's a matter of the evaluation. And that's basically it. Whether it became megatrends, it depends on geopolitics. The more tensions you have, the more you are going to spend on it, because it's, as you mentioned, it's critical. The less tension, if there is no tension, you forget it, because it's just you're spending money for nothing. It's like insurance, you know. You don't need insurance, so you're not ill. And if you are getting ill, it's too late. What is the proper way? What kind of insurance you need? It depends on judgment. That's why there is no answer on this question.
Well, I mean, from and now this is an American perspective, yeah, but you know, I've often criticized decisions made in America on, you know, what is in fact critical. If you look at American spending on, say, counterterrorism, as opposed to other more boring things like modernizing our electrical grid. Right. So from my perspective, what's critical and what's easy are the most important decisions. And I think just using America as an example, some of the things are incredibly difficult to protect, but modernizing your electric grid, for example, it could have been accomplished for the cost of some of the other things America wastes money on. So I think part of the critical infrastructure protection and security spending is better efficiencies and better identification of easy wins.
Okay. Thank you. Next question.
Yes, so my question was to Dr. Greene, but it can also be discussed by everyone. At the beginning, you mentioned the risk of the development of social media applications like TikTok. Do you think that fake news about any kind of economic stuff could somehow end in a real financial crisis because our generation has become so badly influenced by social media?
So that's interesting. Could fake news trigger an economic crisis? I don't think fake news could trigger a crash simply because there are so many voices that even if you're not deliberately cross-checking, you're going to get information from multiple inputs. But it certainly could contribute to worsening these conditions. I also think maybe you're being a little bit unfair to your generation. Now I'm getting old and I'm too far away from student generations, but I think all of our generations have also at one time been young and impressionable and made foolish choices, and some of our generations continue to do that when we're older. But yet I actually think that young people are less likely to be misled by fake news on TikTok than someone who's not very experienced as a consumer of social media. And in fact, if you look in the United States, some of the worst proliferation of fake news has been in, say, the 55 and older group, who are less savvy at understanding what is fake news. So I actually think that younger users of social media can sometimes perhaps be more sophisticated at understanding what is and isn't true, because you are native speakers of that in a way that no one on this panel probably quite is.
Thank you. I saw some other hands that were raised.
Thank you. My question is to the foreign guests, to the experts, Mr. Kumar, Mr. Greene. One of the most important problems the mid-sized companies here in Germany is we don't have enough skilled employees. There's a huge lack of skilled handcrafters, engineers, and so on. I represent 3 mid-sized companies in Chemnitz. What we need are employees. And I ask why, since 2015, we have 2.5 or 3 million migrants came to Germany, refugees. My knowledge is only 10 or 15% of them are in jobs. So, what's the point of view from outside, from your expertise? What is attractive for Germany and which topics are not attractive? Why don't come the right skilled people? An example is the Czech Republic is only 60 kilometers from here. The average earnings per hour for handcrafters are 8 to 9 euros per hour. In Chemnitz or here in the environment, we pay in minimum 12 euros, but we must pay 14, 15, 16 euros per hour. But nobody comes. What do you think, from your point of view from outside, what is attractive for Germany and what not? I think Mr. Jankowsky has the same problems in his company. We don't have enough employees. What do you think? What's your expertise, your meaning from outside?
Thank you for asking this question, actually. It is very effective question for today's world. Watch out, when I mention India has the youngest population in the world, it means this population can go both ways. Either in a wrong way, if they're not skilled, or they can go in a right way if government has a plan to skill them and take them in the labor market. What government of India is doing. So we have Skill India, a project under which we are providing a school education system. Then also the skill development institutions are working to make them in the labor market. Now, comparing 2 markets, being in Poland and now connected with Germany as well for a few years, we are working together now. Poland, just I give you some figure to clear the mind and then I will take further this question. In 2014, Poland had 217 Indian students at entire Polish universities. 217. Polish ambassador in New Delhi is responsible for giving visa for 6 countries: India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and Bhutan. Imagine the strength of the population, and they were giving the visas. When I realized these things, I was in a panel with the foreign minister in 2014 with the Polish government. Because there was a time when Poland and India were celebrating 60 years of diplomatic relationship and economic ties. I was very controversial because I just raised this question by saying we have many things to celebrate, but one thing we are lacking behind. If with 1.25 billion people, you have one ambassador sitting in Delhi and giving with your top-most universities, altogether you have 217 students studying in Poland. Imagine how effective you are and how many ambassadors you are creating for yourself who will be going back to India and talking about you. I know Poland, I know Polish food, I know Polish language, I interact with the Polish culture. So they will be talking about you. And you should focus on that higher education system to call these people from India who is seeking higher education, they're not able to get admissions at the Indian universities. Let them to come here. Skill them according to your needs. Give education what you are providing. And once they get back, they are your ambassadors. And somehow it worked. And by 2019, I give you data. Can you imagine what could be the maximum number of students who reach from 2014 to 2019? Any figure from you, audience? Just imagine. You're closer? It was more than 9,000 students who joined the universities in Poland. And the flow has begun. My Indo-European Education Foundation has promoted these activities in India. So now we close this project because it's already running on. So what happened? Once students move in, we had no direct flights from Warsaw, Delhi. Now watch how economy is moving on. So once these students' mobility come up to Poland, Polish government decided to launch direct flight. Warsaw, Delhi, and this June, they have launched Warsaw, Mumbai. 2 destination, straight flight. What it means? You are getting trade. So trade also increased, and these skills workers, when they come here, they get education, they stay in your country, they integrate with your culture, they learn your language, they learn how to behave in your society because they have not learned being in India. So you are teaching them to be adaptive in a new society. And that is the point, when all these Indians, they come to Poland, it doesn't mean that 100% they're going back. Most of them, they're hired by the companies, being at the universities. So this way, they're at least filling some gap of the labor market which is needed. For example, I give you 1-2 companies' name. Infosys is one of the Indian company, one of the largest IT company in India. They are outsourcing in Poland. They have location in Łódź. They're hiring around 11,000 people. Probably you know also, this is very famous now because a Prime Minister of UK, Mr. Rishi Sunak, his wife is the daughter of the chairman of Infosys. And she's still not British citizen. She's Indian citizen. It means her capital, she's holding the highest capital in the company. And she's, or both couples' wealth is 3 times higher than the King Charles. And they don't pay any taxes. Her lady is not paying taxes because she's not British citizen. What I mean to say, you need to think in Germany in the similar way. You want to just get a labor, low-skilled migrants, or you want to get high-skilled migrants. If you decide high-skilled migrants, what are the process? You want to make them high-skilled according to your society, according to your needs in the company, being in India, or you want to give them opportunities for admitting them at the universities, colleges, even industries, to let them to train for 6 months, 3 months, and then hire them. So in that case, they're already in Germany. They study with you, they interact with you, they come across with the cultural communication, and they're more effective and influential workers for the labor market. Another example is one of the company we are cooperating with is TZMO from Poland. Probably you know about. They're producing Bella. They're in Torun. They have 2 branches in India, Mumbai and Bangalore, Hyderabad somewhere. So what we do when students they come from India, we had tie-up with them. So being as a student for 3 years at the university or 5 years for the master program, we send them during the break to the companies. So they get training, and once they complete the training, get back here, they are the potential employees for the company, either in Poland or in India back, because they have branches there. So such kind of trend, if you adopt or you suggest in Poland, I see is a huge potential for Germany or Indian cooperation, because we have labor market, we are the service providers, and there is no issue for language. Anyone who want to communicate with them, English is enough for Indians, because even from east to west, I travel. If you're traveling with me in India, and I'm traveling in India from south to west, I'm just like you. I cannot read their languages. I don't understand their languages, a script as well, because we have 627 dialects in India. So if you want to communicate with one another, we use only English. And English has been called as linked language. So if company has employees, HR, who can communicate with English, I see this is the best possible way to let them to train, bring them here, and then adapt in the market. Or you can create a dual program with the Indian universities or Indian companies who can hire them, give them some training, letting them to understand your needs, and then transport them to here to work for your companies. So that is the win-win situation what I can do, either for the education purposes or the training purposes for the industries. So these are the way how I suggest to go. Because these are the case studies we have already experienced with Poland. And you are with the Germany very close, and we have even much more trade, bilateral trade with India, comparing with Poland. So I think this is the win-win for both the countries.
And Dr. Greene, how would you, your input?
I agree with Dr. Kumar. I'll just add a couple things. One is that the labor market, as you know, is not that globalized, even in the most global era, and so it's thus a very inefficient market. And so this is a political problem, right? So the first thing is that I think not just in your country, but also in my country, the business sector has not necessarily been effective at communicating with political parties, particularly political parties in my country who are most commonly identified as being aligned with the business sectors, who have skilled labor shortages, of the need to liberalize labor markets. So I think that's the first point. I mean, the second is I think we need to look at why hasn't the refugee population in Germany been better integrated into the labor market, because I would have expected, if you'd asked me what numbers I'd expected, I would have expected better results. So the second question is, where has that gone wrong? How can that be resolved? And then the third thing, just to echo what Dr. Kumar said, is Germany has a very strong educational sector. Is Germany doing enough to take advantage of that? I know in the United States, there's this fiction that graduate students are supposed to go back to their home countries. And there's this awkward dance when you're at immigration and you have to say you're going to go back, even though you really want to do your PhD and get hired by Microsoft and stay in the US forever. But there's also a very real desire among some parts, and I'll just speak about my country. I assume it's the same in Germany from what I know. There's a very real desire to reduce immigration, even among some of the most skilled immigrants. In fact, the parts of the Trump administration were deliberately making it challenging for PhD students to come to the United States. And that's, I think, something that has to be combated to solve this. So I agree with Dr. Kumar, but I also think that we need to look at the sort of political and policy impediments.
Thank you. As we have seen, this could be a discussion that could continue, but the purpose of this forum was to give a platform where these issues are brought to the surface, where these issues are discussed, to kind of have us as listeners and participants to have it churning and cycling through our head about a wake-up call. What is happening? How do others see it? There are major impacts and there are major challenges that we cannot solve here in this time period. But it is our wake-up call to be the active game changers and to be the ones to listen to what's going on and decide where is it going and what should we be aware of. And that's a word we used often here, was awareness and adaptability. And I think that's something that we need to take into consideration.